Today class we continue to learn critical path method, and we use scheduling software to show how we do with manually and that use software to schedule automatically with the same problem we learned in the previous lesson and today lesson. We had four learning objectives. We convert the PDM precedence diagramming method networks into the Gantt chart or bar chart, explain the available dependency and lead lag factors in the PDM precedent diagramming method, diagram, calculate and interpret the PDM with different type of dependency that we explain in objective B, the second objective, and lead lag factors, and apply software, in this case Microsoft project, to project scheduling. So let's start with the A, and that is problem 1. We have convert the PDM networks to Gantt chart. So that is problem 1 in here. Convert PDM network. In problem 4, the previous lesson, worksheet 22, into the bar charts for the two scenarios, early start schedule and late start schedule. So what is that problem? Go back to here in the previous problems, that is problem 4. Given the same project information in problem 2, draw the PDM network, calculate early start, early finish, late start, late finish, total float and free float, and identify critical paths and critical activities for this one. So we have 10 activities, and if you recall, when we did that with either activity on arrow or ADM network or the PDM network like problem 4 in the previous lesson, we determined that the project schedule, the project durations is 68 days. And that's what we did in the previous lessons for this project, 68 days. If you are not sure, go back to that lesson to review for this. And with that one, and the problem asks us to how to convert this PDM network, the precedent diagramming method or activity on node, into a bar or Gantt chart that is, easy to read. So how can we do that? And two scenarios that the problem asks us to do, use early start schedule and late start schedule. So what does that mean? That depends on how we look at this. Early start, early finish. That means for project, all activities in that project start as soon as possible. So that is the blue that you see, that the early start and early finish. Start as soon as possible. So all of that we call early start schedule. And we also have the late start and late finish. So that is the green in the bottom that you see here. That activity can start at that late without delaying the project schedule. In this case, project is 68 days without delay. If you start even later than that, than the green one, then the project is most likely to be delayed. So with that one, we got early start and schedule and late start schedule. So you delay the start, but still maintain the project in 68 days. There are risks of you delay the start, just like in you do the class submit assignment. If you delay the last day of before the due to review, to prepare for the assignments, there is a risk that you cannot finish on time, or the quality of your work can be compromised. Same for managing project. You start as early as possible, that you have some buffer to manipulate to ensure the project on time. If you start as late as possible, most likely there are more risks. But if you start as early as possible, you have to put more resources as early. And if you learn in the time value of money in the second portion of this class, you start as early as possible, you spend a lot of money at the beginning, that it will have the opportunity cost involved, things like that. So it may not be economically sound. So that either have a trade-off. between those two. So schedule that give you the early start and late start give you information where I should start certain activity, but still make sure the project uh, still be on schedule, in this case 68 days. So with that one, let me start with the early start schedule and late start here. You see the blue one. So activity A start at 0 and finish at day 7. B 0, finish at 5. If it late start, A is still the same because that A on the critical path, as we can see here. Then for those activity on critical path, A, C, D, F, I, H, I, J, they still have the same early start and late start schedule because that cannot maneuver. If you delay that activity on critical path, the project will be delayed. But those activity that not on critical path, just like B, have 2-day total float, E, 10-day total float, G, 8-day total float, then you can start later. Instead of start at day 0 for B, you can start 2 days later. It's still not compromise the project's schedule 68 days. Same apply for E. You can start at day 5 or start 10 days later, day 15. Same for G, start at 35, or you can start 8 days later, 43 days without delaying the project. So that I show here for this problem to show you how to convert that in the bar chart. And that is the very first slide of our today lesson. That here, the red one stands for late start schedule. The green one stands for early start schedule. So that you can see B start as soon as possible at day 0. Then on other activity E also start as soon as possible, as soon as B start. But as you can see, there is a float between B and activity C here. So B, I can shift 2 days. So the red one here is not the late start, but that is the activity on critical path. So A, C, D, E, A, C, D, F, H, I, J. Should be J, not K. So that on critical path. So you cannot shift. If you shift, it will move the project from 68 days to further. But the activity not on critical path for B, for E, for G, you can move. And that is the time buffer that show here. And you can see B, I can move 2 days. E, I can move actually 10 days to back to in the middle of 35 days, day 35 to finish, not only 25. Activity G, I can move 8 more days, and that start here 25 or 35 at 35, or you can start 8 days later. So on the activity on green light is not an early start, but that is the non-critical activities that you can move around with the time buffer that you have here. And in this case that I just showed is the early start schedule. If it late start, you can move B back here, move E when it finishes at this line, and move G if finish at this line. It's still project still 68 days. So that is the difference between the early start schedule and late start schedule.